My name is Mark, and I used to think I had it all figured out. Control was my compass, the foundation of my success and stability. I watched others get swept away by impulsive emotions, and I swore I would never let that happen to me. By the time I reached 35, I had everything I thought I wanted: a thriving business, a lavish home, a life that ran with precision. My friends admired me, my colleagues respected me, and I kept my emotions neatly boxed away. I thought I was untouchable, unbreakable. Then, I met Laura. Laura was a painter, a true artist. She saw the world differently, in ways I couldn't always understand, but that fascinated me. She would gaze at a sunset and talk about how it made her feel, how the colors danced in her mind. I was drawn to her passion, her spontaneity, and how she seemed to find beauty in everything. When I was with her, I felt like I was seeing the world for the first time. It was as if she'd pulled me out of a black and white world into vibrant color. I thought, with Laura by my side, I'd finally found the missing piece of my life. In the early days of our relationship, things were perfect. We'd spend hours talking, sharing dreams. I told her about my childhood, my ambitions, the long nights spent building my career from the ground up. She told me about her dreams of painting, of someday having her own gallery, and how she never wanted to lose her love for art. She once said to me, "Promise me, Mark, that you'll never try to change me." I remember laughing, brushing a strand of hair from her face, and saying, "I love you just the way you are." But, somewhere along the way, things began to change. As my love for her grew, so did my need to protect her, to make her life easier. I wanted to support her, to give her the world. I thought I was showing my love by guiding her career, by helping her organize exhibitions and connecting her with the right people. I couldn't see it then, but I was slowly turning her into a project, a part of my life I could shape and control. Laura started to withdraw, but at first, I didn't notice. She'd get lost in her art, spending days locked in her studio, only emerging at night, covered in paint and exhausted. When I'd ask her how her work was going, she'd respond with vague answers, a flicker of frustration in her eyes. She'd brush off my questions, saying I wouldn't understand. I told myself she was just going through a creative phase, that artists had their moods, and that things would go back to normal. Then, one day, she told me she was meeting a friend to discuss a new art project. I was pleased she was expanding her network and didn't think much of it until the meetings became more frequent. She'd come home late, avoiding my gaze, saying she had been working on ideas with people in her community. Her explanations felt rehearsed, too polished, and I couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. My mind began to race, conjuring images I didn't want to believe, but couldn't ignore. It was around this time that Alex, my closest friend from college, re-entered our lives. We'd drifted apart over the years as my career and his took us in different directions. But he was back in town, working as a curator at a major gallery. I invited him over for dinner, eager to reconnect and show off the life I'd built. Laura seemed thrilled to meet him, and soon, the two of them were talking about art, exhibitions, creative inspiration. I felt a pang of jealousy, watching them laugh and share stories as if they'd known each other forever. I tried to brush it off, telling myself that they were just friends, that I was being paranoid. But the next day, Laura told me she was meeting Alex to discuss an idea he had for her work. I felt my stomach twist, but I kept my cool. I loved her, and I trusted her. But then, as the days went by, I noticed changes. She was texting late at night, smiling at her phone in a way I hadn't seen in months. Her laughter felt distant, a part of her I couldn't reach. One evening, I followed her. I know it sounds pathetic, but I couldn't fight the feeling that I was losing her. When I arrived at the cafe, there they were, laughing together, her hand resting on his. I stood outside, watching, my heart pounding with anger and despair. I wanted to burst in, to demand answers, but I held back. Instead, I walked away, feeling shattered. For weeks, I kept the betrayal to myself. I hoped it was just a phase, that she would come back to me. But she didn't. Every time I tried to talk to her, she'd make excuses or avoid my questions. The final blow came when I overheard her talking on the phone late at night, her voice soft and intimate. I knew she wasn't talking to me. Desperate, I hired a private investigator. I wanted proof, a way to finally confront her. The report was devastating. They'd been meeting for months, under the pretense of art projects. I felt sick, betrayed by the two people I trusted most. Determined to save our marriage, I planned an exhibition for Laura, a grand event to show her how much I cared. I thought this would remind her of everything we'd shared, everything I'd done for her. On the night of the exhibition, in front of her friends, our family, and my colleagues, I announced a major contract I'd arranged for her. But instead of gratitude, she looked at me with anger and resentment. She whispered, "You didn't even ask me if I wanted this." That was it. I felt my control slipping, replaced by a deep, seething rage. "After everything I've done for you, this is how you repay me." I wanted to scream. She stormed out of the gallery, and I was left standing there, humiliated, in front of everyone. Days later, Laura told me she felt trapped, like my support had become a prison. She didn't deny her relationship with Alex, didn't even apologize. She just said, "I need to find myself again," and left. I watched her walk away, feeling empty, like my life had crumbled in my hands. When I confronted Alex, he tried to apologize, saying he never meant for it to happen. But I couldn't forgive him. He had taken everything from me. In one night, I lost my wife and my best friend. Now, as I sit alone, I wonder if I could have done something differently. Was it my need to control that pushed her away? Or did they both simply betray me out of selfishness? I don't know. All I know is that in trying to protect what I loved, I lost everything that mattered.